Man, have I got a fun watch for you today. This is from the young microbrand IKIGAI, and this is their new model, the Kame, which translates to turtle. And you may not see it right off, but this 200-meter diver is completely inspired by sea turtles. Not so obvious when you just kind of take a look at it, but I'll definitely point out some things that will give you that feeling. Hey now, I'm Whit. Welcome back to the channel. And man, I really enjoyed my time with the IKIGAI Kame. This is just a phenomenal watch. This is one of those where it's, got a bold design choice, right? But it's not really over the top. I mean, in its, root, it's very simplistic, but it's just got some design flares that set it apart from everything else. You may have seen the previous watch from IKIGAI, the Maru, which was that Tron-looking loom, the crosshatch loom on the mid-case, the side profile. Well, they're back with another interesting design. Again, completely inspired by sea turtles, and I showed you in that opening piece how it kind of looks like flippers or fins here on the mid-case. And then there's other features, that are some more obvious and some not. Here with the dial, you see that kind of hexagon pattern, to kind of look like a shell. You see little notches on the bezel kind of act as teeth, so you can grip it and turn it, and it matches that outer edge of the turtle shell as well. Some of the various shapes and contours of the turtle shell has made its way onto this watch in one form or another. Fun to see this hand drawing of the original design, right? Let me give you the specs and measurements, and then I'll tell you what I like and don't like. The case is 40 millimeters in diameter, 47 millimeters lug to lug. You've got a 20 millimeter lug width, and it's about 12.5 millimeters thick, and it weighs 166 grams with the links as sized for my 8-inch wrist. The case is 316L stainless steel, and it is brushed, polished, and sandblasted. You can see all the different textures. It's labeled as a flat sapphire crystal, but I see just a very slight dome to it. Maybe it's just considered flat to most, but you even get a little bit of the distortion there at certain angles. So anti-reflective coating on the underside. The crown has a very cool taper. It's 7 millimeters in diameter. It's signed with their logo, and that is fully loomed as well. It's screw down, and so is the case back, 200 meters of water resistance. The handset, indices, and bezel all have BGW9 Superluminova luminescence, and it's applied generously and is very bright and long-lasting. And I will note that this is a prototype watch. The loom is promised to be even better on the production model. The Kame comes in 3 color choices: this Horizon Blue, Solar Flare, or Mystic Purple. And it's running the Miyota 9039 premium automatic movement, beats at 28,800 vibrations per hour, 24 joules, 42-hour power reserve. It's got hacking, automatic, and hand winding. Has a stated accuracy of about -10 to +30 seconds per day. Now, I hand timed this one over 20 days, and it came in at -5.6 seconds per day. But those readings don't seem to match these of the time grapher. At just a single pass through, one position dial up, you see it's coming in at +5 seconds per day. Nice amplitude of 287 degrees, and look at that beat air. None. This is a 120-click unidirectional bezel, and really the best way to turn it is by grabbing the top side of the bezel by putting your fingers on those teeth, as I mentioned before. It really turns easily. They do have these flat surfaces, but I find that those, while they can turn, the teeth is where it's at. I mean, this is so grippy. You can turn it very easily. Nice bezel action. It's got some solid clicks to it. And everywhere you see a numeral on the bezel, it's got a counterpart on the side of the bezel. In a high polish, you see the word spelled out 10, and then 20, etc. Well, before I give you my likes and dislikes, I want to show off this dial a little more, nice and up close. So you see this multi-layer dial. That center section has that turtle shell effect, and then the next level up is what holds those indices, so to speak. They are applied with a polished surround that's absolutely spectacular. And then that's a fume part of the dial as well. You see that gradient to more black, where is the color that it reaches by the time it gets to the riot. And such a cool touch with their signature. I mean, you see this dial doesn't have their name on it anywhere, right? It's a rather plain dial as far as script goes, but they snuck it up into the Riot. Look at that. So the first eye in Ikigai is lined up with the 12 spot, and the last eye is lined up with the 1 spot. And then you see all the way around the Riot at each of those arrow markers, they laid down an eye just for, the symmetry. Such a cool, nonchalant way to put your signature on this watch. Okay, let me give you my likes and dislikes. I'm going to start with the dislikes first, and it's actually just one. It's the bracelet. So I love this bracelet. It looks so cool, and it's funny because so when I first got the watch in, I was raving with Auscar, the owner, about it, and he said they were going to change the bracelet to add more articulation, and I said, what? It's got crazy great articulation, and it's comfortable. I love it. And he said, well, they kind of kink up every now and then. And I had not experienced it yet. Well, soon afterwards, wouldn't you know it, the bracelet kind of kinked up on me. So, and I can't even really recreate it here, but man, when it gets kinked up, it's tough to get unkinked. The good news is, like, again, this is a prototype, and they discovered that. I mean, that's what the prototype is for. You live with the watch and you make great changes. And that's what they're going to do. So they're going to make this center link just a little bit smaller. I don't really know, if it's going to look too much different than this. I think they're going to try and stay with this look as much as they can. They just need to change it a little bit to help with that articulation and so that the bracelet doesn't kink up. And by the way, those are the only two changes that they're going to make between this prototype and the production model. The bracelet, as I just mentioned, and even better loom, like I mentioned earlier. So let me tell you the things I like now, and I'll start with the bracelet. It's nice and comfortable. It's got this great rugged look, and I want to rave about this clasp. It's got their logo and signature engraved on it. Look how long it is, though. You know the reason behind that, right? That's because it's got an on-the-fly micro adjust on the underside. So that's the length you get, but in that you get a great balance between the clasp and the watch head. The clasp is nearly the length of the lug-to-lug. This is 47, and I think the clasp is about 42 millimeters in length. But it just gets this great balance. Double push-button release, no safety latch, and fully milled. And then on the underside, there is your micro adjust. You see the little button there with the ridges that says push. You just push down on that, and then you can slide it out further. And it is 6 positions, so here's all the way out. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And when you're pushed all the way in, it is locked. It won't pull out until you push that button. And then as you just saw, you can make it smaller just by pushing in. And this dial is so dynamic. Love the fume application, and it just takes on different looks in different light. Again, you got those markers with the polished surrounds that kind of flash back at you when light hits them. And same goes for the textured portion of the dial in the center there, that turtle shell pattern. Just sometimes will be just kind of muted, and other times will just pop right out at you. And again, that Ikigai signature on the Riot, that is just such a cool touch. And I mentioned it in the specs, but this bezel is just killer. The grip that you have with just grabbing those triangles, if you will. I mean, this is the best underwater rotation aside from some kind of bezel that sticks up tall from the case. Slippery hands, don't care. You can just grab it from those teeth, if you will, and give it a nice spin very easily. Super grippy. And speaking of grippy, this crown is awesome. 7 millimeters in diameter. It doesn't look that big compared to the rest of the case, but and then you look at this pop out. I mean, you can grab that and manipulate that crown very easily. Look how far that sticks out from the case. And something I have to convey is the hand winding on this crown. This has a turn. I mean, I couldn't tell that it was a 9039, a Miyota in there. It felt like an SW200-1, like a Solita. It has that resistance to it. I don't know what they did, but it's kind of like halfway between, say, an SW200 and a 9039. It's not like just flimsy, like whip, 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 It's got some resistance to it, but not too much like I feel the SW200 has. So I don't know how they did it, but the resistance does not feel like a Miyota. And man, you got to love the lume. So Ikigai is definitely setting the tone for how they want to be perceived by lume fanatics. They have some great lume. I mean, it's just super bright, long lasting, and I was surprised that when he said that this prototype would actually, you know, it's going to have better lume, the production model. They're going to improve the lume even more because it was great. Now, I did see after some use that the handset was a little less bright than the indices. So, you know, I did catch that later on during, you know, wearing the watch. But, man, the sun charges this thing so brightly. You know, you walk into a dark room after being outside and it just blows you up, you know. Or you jump in your car after it's turned dark and it's already lit up, you know, so it's great. Well, let's talk about availability. So these are on Kickstarter. There's an early bird price of $399 US. That's about 315 British pounds or 367 euros. And I think this is going to be a successful Kickstarter. I mean, this is just a great-looking watch. And again, it's like, you know, nothing else out there. It's got enough of a little quirky design, you know, cues to it to be a little different. But again, not garish or over the top. So I just think this is a real winner here. And if you're at all attracted to this watch from this video or other pictures you've seen, etc., man, you're going to love it in person. I really enjoyed my time with it. Hey, if you enjoyed your time with this video, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button, and maybe check out this video next. I'm Whit, with so many watches, so little time. And money.